But first, this week, while President Trump was making history in the Middle East, pursuing peace and forging partnerships with a bold new direction, yes, Trump has rejected the neocon warhawk interventionists that have caused astonishing damage to the region. This is what he's preaching.
Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves.
And we'll be speaking to Quanta Ahmed about Trump's Middle East visit very shortly. But whilst Donald Trump was striking deals, he signed deals worth around $600 billion US in Saudi Arabia alone, and endeavouring to expand the Abraham Accords. While all that was going on, back in the US, there were revelations that President Joe Biden's decline was so severe during his presidency that aides discussed putting him in a wheelchair for his second term, but they believed it was politically untenable to have him in a wheelchair during his re-election campaign. You think? They were so worried about him suffering falls that they then began taking many precautions, like shorter walking paths during public appearances. They insisted on handrails for steps up to the stage at his appearances, had the president wear sneakers more often, changed his visual briefings before events to ensure he knew every step he was expected to take, and guided him more carefully through the movements. To call him a puppet president, I think, is really giving him too much credit. The leftist media is desperate to restore its credibility. They're now reporting on Biden's mental and physical decline, now that it doesn't matter. But don't ever forget that they were complicit in the biggest cover-up in modern times. They were active participants in covering up the fact that the most powerful man in the world had suffered significant cognitive decline and was unable to perform the role. What we need to know now is not being told what we've been telling you for the last 4 years. What we need to know now is who was making the calls, who was making the decisions, who was deciding policy, who was deciding what documents Biden's electronic signature would end up on. Who decided to grant, for example, preemptive pardons to the likes of former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, and Dr. Anthony Fauci? That's what we need to know now.
Thanks, Rita. Well, apart from Joe Biden, the big story also coming out of the States over the last 24 hours or so has been this extraordinary story, 8647. Now, we'll just have a look. This is basically James Comey, who was instrumental in the whole Russia collusion thing. We talked about it way back in 2017 and 18, all during the first Trump presidency here. But what does this mean? 8647, it was in shells on the sand. Someone had put 8647, and James Comey retweeted this or reposted it.
No, he posted it. This is his post.
With
interesting
some
shell formation. This is, I think, very rightly perceived as, if not a death threat, then a death wish.
Because 86 means take out and 47 means Trump.
Well, Trump is 45 and 47. He's currently the 47th president of the United States. Everyone knows that. This wasn't particularly obscure. Everyone, as soon as they saw it, who understands 86, knew what that meant. They're trying to say, oh, no, 86 means get rid of. So, it could be impeachment or, winning an election. Well, Trump's already got 2 terms, so he's not running for re-election again, despite the fevered dreams of the left. So I can understand well why Comey's having to answer questions to the Secret Service.
Let's have a listen to the Fox report just briefly.
Former FBI Director James Comey is being questioned by the Secret Service after threatening the president's life. Comey posted a photo, 8647. 86 means take out, and Trump's the 47th president.
And then you've got Donald Trump's response to that, Caroline. So just have a listen to Donald Trump responding to this story.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant.
What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this, I think it's a terrible thing. And when you add his history to that, if he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty...
And Caroline, there were at least two assassination attempts that we know about on Donald Trump during the campaign. They're still shrouded in mystery.
Exactly.
But Caroline, what did you make of
mean,
this?
Comey later deleted it and said, I had no idea that some people thought it meant violence.
Oh, please.
I don't think that washes with anyone.
Why did he post it?
And also, I find it hard to believe. I mean, call me a skeptic that he's just wandering along the beach and happens to find this shell formation. Oh, someone did this shell formation. I'm just going to take a photo and post it. And as the former director of the FBI, I have no idea how some people may interpret it.
He knew precisely what it meant. He knew precisely. There was no reason for him to post that if he didn't know what it meant.
Yes.
If he didn't know what 8647, why would you post that? He knew. He's not an idiot. He is certainly, in my mind, dishonest. He's devious. There's a lot of things you could say about him, but stupid wouldn't be on top of my list. He knows precisely what that meant. And you know what? Trump associates, people within his administration, were pursued over nothing. Some went to jail over nothing. So I have absolutely no issue when people who want to mess around with this sort of nonsense, post veiled threats, having to answer some questions to the Secret Service and try to explain what they were intending to do there, because it has been one-way traffic for far too long in the US. The left have politicised and weaponised the justice system to go after their political opponents. That was one of the big issues in the election campaign, something a lot of people in Australia don't understand. That was a huge issue. Trust in these institutions, the FBI, CIA, has plummeted because so many people see them as political weapons. So I think...
Well, also, that they used to be the good guys. I mean, if you go back to the, Kennedy assassination, for instance, Lee Harvey Oswald, we know all about Lee Harvey Oswald. Everyone knows he was this, he was a patsy, he was a Russia, he was here, he was there, whatever. The whole story, everybody knows. 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump during the election, and we know nothing about either of the characters. We've only seen 1 or 2 photographs of either of them. Story completely buried and disappeared. There is something deeply, deeply rotten and sinister at the heart of the American Secret Services, is it? I don't know, the deep state. Call it whatever you will, Caroline. But we need those answers.
Well, yes, we do. And I also imagine the left has come out and condemned this, Rowan, because they're all about words of violence. So clearly they would have a problem with this, right?
It's a hate speech tweet. If he goes to England, he'll be in jail.
Exactly.
The wonderful thing with the left is, well, they have absolutely no principles or standards. They will not play even by their own rules. I do love people from the left, particularly some of the most outspoken ones, who want to cancel anyone for basically saying, men can't be women or men can't breastfeed, suddenly becoming free speech absolutists.
Of course he's allowed to say 8647.
Yes,
it's just words got meaning of it. But just very briefly, Rita pointed out to me earlier, there have been some hilarious memes with people doing their own messages.
There's been a lot of weird shell formations, apparently. I don't know if we've got a couple that we can look at.
Look for them on social media.
Or something that's making these shell formations.
Very funny.